Hello, everybody, and welcome to, I don't know, I guess we'll call it New Pack Day. I'm traveling, but I picked up my new copy of Free Mars before leaving, and I wanted to go over some of these cards. This isn't really going to be a pack review. This is just going to be some of the things that I'm excited about. Because I think this is a really cool pack that has some really cool design choices in it, and I just wanted to go over it. So let's take a look. So one of the first cards, looks like we had an interruption. Alright, so Lean and Mean. Make a run if you have 3 or fewer programs installed. All icebreakers have +2 strength. This is really neat. I don't know how often this would be used in Criminal or Shaper. I could see this being used maybe in Anarch, where they are only got like the Eater or the Faust down, or but yeah. So I'll go back over some of the other stuff if it didn't come through. But yeah, I don't know who this is for, but I'm excited to do something with it. Because it seems kind of anti-synergistic, again, with some of the other cards. I like that in this pack, we're getting a lot of cards where they are at odds with each other. Like, there's not, like, one cohesive synergistic plan coming out of this pack. There's a lot of things that directly conflict with each other and support multiple styles of play. And that's really freaking cool. Like, really, really cool. So we've got Maven, and man, I think Maven is going to be an actual really good card. It's an AI, so it's like the Savant and Adept style breakers. So it takes up 2 MU, which is fine, because we have Degdir to deal with that. But it has 1 strength for each installed program, so Degdir also covers that, right? And then if you put this down, it's 2 credits to break anything, any ice subroutine. So if you're running it with E3, man, this thing can get very, 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 very strong. And it can be just kind of the universal AI breaker that Shaper has never really had. You know, Atman is great, like a super great band-aid for whatever is your toughest ice to break. But they've never had a truly universalist AI that's been good like Eater is, or Faust is, or even, you know, Vamadeva is a pretty good criminal AI breaker. But Maven solves that problem for criminals. You can now create a universalist build. And, you know, so if you've got this, the Degdirs, maybe some, like a, whatchamacallit, the, you know, Magnum Opus on a Degdir, and got some other stuff, maybe an Equivocation, you know, this is suddenly at like 6th strength, 7th strength. So that's pretty damn good. I don't know, I think there's a lot that could potentially be there. Hi guys, by the way. So we have this, which is another breaker that I'm very excited to use. I guess it's Nannot, the Danger Zone. During each run, somebody put up the pronunciation in here. This cool killer has 1 strength for each piece of ice on the attack server, and it's 3 for 2 strength, which is pretty miserable, but it's the magic, not awful, 1 credit per 1 subroutine. So Nannot Ok, okay. Nanot, Nanotech. Nah, not okay. But yeah. Yeah, low-key AI punish, which is less just like hard counters, which is going to be good. I also think that this is just really good, because one of the things that sucks the most for a lot of non-stealth Shapers is that you've got to have like a killer, and all of the killers that you can actually usually borrow with your influence either require additional support or they are awful, right? This is a little bit better, especially if it comes down late game. It's a really, really good killer. If you think, a lot of servers... Pipeline is not good, Ulkrond. It is not good. This, I think, has, like, if it even gets up to 3 strength, 3 strength covers a lot of sentries in the game currently. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think there's a lot of power to this card. I'm looking forward to experimenting with all of these Shaper cards because they're all so good. And they've all got my favorite abstract artist, Adam S. Doyle, as their artist. I feel like they're just basically like, hey, Adam, we've got another good card. I think he's always just like, well, we got another good card, so let's go ahead and just get Adam Doyle to do it. All right, so now we got to talk about the big reveal from this pack, and that is Blue Moose, which has been widely discussed as our Cotty Jones replacement. And man, is it just better in basically every way. So if you're any deck that doesn't levy, or even if you are a deck that does levy, now every single card that you don't need to recur, duplicates of Breakers, duplicates of Film Critic, or, protection cards that you don't use in that matchup, they now just become a clickless $2. I've been using this in my Stealth deck, and the amount of additional setup power that it gives me when I'm, using my pitched additional net recurs, or my diesels that have already gone out. Yeah, Aesops and Moose creates a steady 5 credits. If you're doing like a Pitchfork Haley or just like a Shop Haley, it's really good. This card's really powerful, but not broken because you are still removing tools from the game, which I like. All right, O2 shortage, because HB really needed more ways to get additional clicks. This is a really interesting card because it falls into that same category as like Shipment of Tenon, where it's a fast advance card that has a condition of like what kind of shape the runner is currently in, right? With Shipment from Tenon, it's an incredible card as long as they didn't make a successful run last turn, instead of the more powerful but somewhat, game warping Biotic Labor, where it's just, if you have the money, you get to do the thing. This is more like the Tenon option, where it says, hey, are you playing Faust, or did I manage to do something that made it so that you pitch down to no cards? Then I get to do this thing automatically, right? Or just you can use it as a pressure, where it's just like, give me these clicks, or you lose a tool from your hand in the early game. I really like it. I haven't thought of how I could leverage this card effectively, because I feel like if I was the runner, especially as a Shaper, I would always just be like, fine, take a random card so you can't fast advance, right? But I think we'll see. Somebody will do something cool with it. Let's talk about the Helheim servers. Trash one card from HQ. All ice protecting this server has +2 strength until the end of the run. Use this ability only during a run on this server. I think this is incredibly good, especially for people who are using fixed strength breakers. Yeah, it's thundering where I am. I'm out in West Virginia visiting my in-laws. I think that this is basically like Dean Lister, but for the Corp. And I think if you've got people who are relying on what I often do with Alice, which is the fixed strength breakers, plus like Ice Carver and like a single data sucker support, man, this can really wreck people and force people to lean more heavily on the conspiracy breakers than they would like. Or if they're using any of like the bad math con man breakers, jacking them up to the next level of boost is not an insignificant tax. I think this is really good, especially if it's like last click. You can pitch an agenda from your hand if they're going on HQ to jack up, so now they don't even have anything to get to if they get in. There's a lot of really neat lines of play that become possible with this. All right, let's talk about Water Monopoly. It's a 3-1. We know how much everybody loves using 3-1s. The install of all non-virtual resources is increased by 1. I think this is really cool. Unfortunately, I think it's a 3-1, so it's not very likely to see play, especially in Ag Infusion or any of the red that's popular right now that wants big, meaty agendas that it can score out in its huge scoring windows that it creates. It's a great effect on a really, really crappy 3-1 that will not likely see play. All right, let's talk about Metamorph. Swap 2 other pieces of ice or swap 2 of your installed non-ice cards. So this card is really weird and crazy because this card can technically let you put off the grids on HQ and, you know, put assets like Psychic Field onto centrals and can let you move positional ice around in weird ways, or, you know, put like ambushes on all sorts of different ambushes and weird crap on centrals. So I think we'll probably have a FAQ at some point. I think there's a really interesting effect that can do some crazy shit that'll make people... Yeah, I mean, this is a great bluff card because if you have like just like a face down card, maybe it's just like a money asset, but you suddenly put it in the root of whatever server they're running and they're like, "Oh, is it a Psychic Field?" You know, and like they might jack out or they might get concerned about dying. What we were discussing in our little group was maybe you have prize second Psychic Field in a remote and you just swap them both at the same time, so that they don't know which one that they should access first, because they don't know which one's which. Kelphasil, there's already been a FAQ on it, and the install restriction is only at the time of install. It's not once the cards are in play. There's already been a FAQ that states that this card can put assets onto centrals. All right, Tithonium. It's a 9/5 ice. You may forfeit an agenda instead of paying its res cost. So I actually like this as a mechanic. If you're in a, whatchamacallit, a Jemison deck, right? Being able to get a 5 strength barrier that's a destroyer for like 1 hostile takeover and putting counters on something, that's cool. And the fact that it's an option, not a must, is even cooler. I like the design of this. I think it's really cool. I think it only really fits into decks that are playing hostile takeover, but I think there's a lot of potential here because you have the ability to pay no money for it if you want by surprise, which creates an interesting situation for the runner because, you know, if you've got a hostile scored, they're like, well, you know, they don't have $4, so they can't res an archer, right? Or they... You know, and you can put res this by surprise. You can't move assets into a central? Okay, I was wrong then. And the Ghost Branch let me down. All right. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really a staple in the fast advance Wayland decks as a... I think this is going to be like a staple deck for those types of green fast decks. So we've got mandatory seed replacement. When you score mandatory seed replacement, rearrange any number of ice protecting all servers. So this is a 4/2, so it's actually playable. I don't know how cool of an effect it is, though, compared to Nisei. Right? We're kind of getting into this weird situation where it's like competing with some really great 4/2s. Not just that Jinteki has access to, but also the neutrals too. Like, is this better than a corporate sales team? You know, I think it's highly dependent on the build, but I think, you know, usually nowadays you're not being so pressured that you're not getting your ice down in something representing a favorable order. And I don't think that being able to rearrange ice is worth a slot over a Nisei, especially. And if you know, you're going to need to have multiples of these to actually see them and impact the game significantly. Let's talk about Data Loop. So, more ice for NBN. When the runner encounters Data Loop, he or she must add 2 cards from his grip to the top of the stack. So, that's pretty funny for foul stacks. It's real expensive, though. It's really expensive. I don't know how good this is going to be. I haven't really thought about it too much. But, I don't know. I think this is a little overpriced for what it's doing. We have biased reporting. Choose a resource, hardware, or program. The runner may trash any of his installed cards of that type and gain 1 for each trashed. Gain 2 for each installed card of the chosen type. So this is kind of weird because it's basically another like runner chicken card. So I'm not necessarily sure how good this is going to be. Yeah, I don't know. This is a weird card. I mean, I think there's power here, but like you're giving them free money. So like unless you're going to be like biased reporting, let them get a bunch of money and then like tag them in some way and then close their accounts, I'm not seeing it, you know? But I'm sure somebody will come up something with that. These are the hot takes. So after your mandatory draw, reveal the top card of R&D and add it to HQ. Add 1 from HQ to the top of R&D. So this is, you know, shuffling cards around. It's more card filtering to replace what we're losing in the form of Atlas and other things. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be neat. It's going to be, currently until Atlas is gone, I think it's going to be competing for slots with a lot of better cards. But I think there's a lot of neat power here. Especially if you like reveal a trap and then they don't know what's going back on top. I think, especially in like a Gagarin kill deck where you've got like a couple of snares floating around, I think like this could be a really neat deck where if they're just not running your hand because they know the snares are there, you're like, well, is the snare on top of R&D? Who knows? Let's find out. You know, it's kind of a neat way of doing that. I like that. Transparency initiative. Yeah. Actually, yeah, let's go back to open forum, because one of the interesting things is it's got 1 influence, and that makes it so this card could be crazy in personal evolution or IG, especially with all their net damage punishment. Yeah. Like if you're doing some sort of like bioethics asset spammy kill or IG even, you know, like this is crazy because you can just be like, I'm going to put a snare on the top of R&D every turn. So you can't just single access from R&D to try to win because I'm just going to keep putting the snare on there over and over and over and over and over again until you trash this. You can just make it so like a permanent snare or a permanent shock is the top card of R&D. Transparency initiative. Turn an agenda face up and install transparency initiative. We've got another casting call. Hosted agenda gains public. Whenever you advance a host agenda, gain $1. So this can turn basically any agenda into the advanced agendas, kind of. I don't know what this card is for. There must be some way that there's going to interact with public agendas in the future. I guess what you can also do is you can use this to combo with things like dedication ceremony, where you can now put advancements on it because it's now face up, but then it's anti-synergistic with the ability. Does dedication ceremony say that you can't score this turn, right? I'm pretty sure it says that. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know what necessarily you would want to do with this card, but I think there's maybe some neat plays. And again, it's another card where it basically dares people to come get the agenda, because if you do like transparency initiative, dedication ceremony on like an Atlas, you can just be like, come get it and die, or let me have like a triple advanced Atlas next turn. triple Over advanced. So last we've got Rover Algorithm. It's a neutral operation. It's 2 cost. Install Rover Algorithm on a resed piece of ice. As a hosting condition counter with the text, host ice has 1 strength for each power counter on Rover Algorithm. Whenever the runner passes this ice, place 1 power counter on Rover Algorithm. So this basically turns every single ice we have into Bailiff? No, not Bailiff. Bailiff is the money one. I forget what it's called. Quicksand, thank you. So that can be really neat for things like Chiashi, things like Komainu if you're not up against a Parasite deck. Komainu getting up to like higher strengths with high numbers of subroutines could be really bad for all of the Haley Lock decks that run Faust. I mean, I know they have other things to help it, but if it gets out of Chameleon range, then they're going to have a very tough time. Yeah, it's a neat enhancement card for a lot of cool ice that have low strengths. So I think that's really cool. You know, even going jankier, you put this on a Brainstorm that sticks around for a while, and suddenly that Brainstorm is a very big problem. Yeah, it also says, yeah, Clippy pay more every turn, which is also not insignificant. It's also just really good for, again, like helping gear check the fixed strength breakers. But yeah, all right. Let's go back to some of the first cards because people said that the live wasn't coming through very well. So let's talk about some of these. So Mars for Martians. The draw 1 card for clan resources is icing. For me, I think this is all about the gain 1 credit for each tag you have. So it gives Siphon Anarch and Tag Me Anarch complete closed account recovery and the ability to get back in for the Siphon after their drug dealers and things have dripped their money down to nothing. I think it's a really powerful card that's going to see a lot of play in the new style of more Tag Me Anarch that is going to be popular post-rotation. I think God of War fits very well into that plan. I think it's a great way to get a free tag for DLR, which is really incredible. And I think it gives Noise, for the first time, a good breaker option for going completely Tag Me. Leave No Trace. I think this is a Los card or a Geist card. I think they're the ones that can boost. They can build the most off of this. However, it's again one of these things where like it's like a Cortez chip. And so it's like they just don't res. Like it's like a super inside job, right? Unless there's like an agenda in the server. But like I feel like what's going to happen a lot of times with this card is they're going to just say, okay, I just won't res anything, right? Because it's a run event, so you can't like, it's not a resource. You can't like tack this onto a legwork run or like a deep R&D dig. They just say, oh, you know, have your single access. Or maybe if it's early, maybe they even just let you have the agenda, right? I think this is a card that is going to be very tricky to play, and you're only going to really be able to leverage it when they have to res. Like, they have to res. Rip Deal. I don't like this card very much. I don't like this card very much. We're just, Brian, we're re-going over some of the early cards because there was some problems with the early part of the stream. So make a run on HQ if successful when you would access any number of cards from HQ. I don't like this card because it's a run event, so you need to have HQ interfaces down or you need to have like a fully loaded turning wheel. And almost always the accesses are going to be better than getting stuff from your heap. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, again, Rip Deal, this is a blue card that's really a red card, right? Or an orange card, right? It's for a different type of deck. We're getting a lot of support for Siphon Anarch in this build. And then the last one that people say that they weren't able to see is Flashbang. Flashbang looks like it's going to be a really great card for my low deck. Just really solid. Get some Dean Listers in there, get it up to strength, and just de-res ice and force the re-res. And get a lot more mileage out of your single Mongoose as long as you're rich, which you are because you're criminal. But yeah, I'm really excited for a lot of the Shaper cards in this pack, and I'm especially excited for Mars for Martians. I'm working on a Tag Me Noise that leverages these two cards very heavily, so I'll let you know how that's going. And I'm really looking forward to using Maven, because I think Maven is just going to be a really incredible, it's going to be the first truly incredible. I would love to see the list. Just send it to me on Facebook, Brian. I think Maven is going to be the universalist AI breaker that Shapers always wanted. And I think it's going to be incredible. I'm really looking forward to experimenting with it. All right, well, I have ignored my in-laws and my family for long enough. I just want to do the hot takes because I'm really excited about this pack. I would love if people left their own feedback in the comments about what they're excited about for this pack, or interesting interactions that they thought of. I tried not to look at spoilers, so you all would be getting some of my first impressions on these cards. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday for Day Job. And until I see you there, always be running.